1955, in Adwa, Tigray. My parents were both teachers, and I grew up in a family that valued education and hard work. My father was an Ethiopian patriot who fought against Italian occupation during World War II, and his example inspired me to pursue a career in politics. Growing up, I witnessed firsthand the poverty and underdevelopment in Ethiopia. The country was struggling to emerge from centuries of feudalism and colonialism, and the majority of Ethiopians lived in extreme poverty. These experiences motivated me to join the Tigrayan People's Liberation Front, TPLF, a Marxist-Leninist rebel group fighting against the Ethiopian government. The TPLF was part of a broader coalition of rebel groups that were seeking to overthrow the government and establish a democratic and socialist Ethiopia. For the next decade, I fought alongside my comrades in the TPLF, facing numerous challenges and setbacks along the way. We endured periods of intense fighting, as well as periods of famine and disease. However, our commitment to the cause never wavered, and we eventually succeeded in toppling the military government in 1991. After the overthrow of the military government, I became the Prime Minister of Ethiopia in 1995. My government was focused on economic development, democracy, and regional integration. We were committed to ensuring that Ethiopia became a prosperous and democratic country that was fully integrated into the global community. One of the most significant achievements of my government was the growth and transformation of Ethiopia's economy. We introduced a number of reforms that focused on agriculture, infrastructure, development, and education, which helped to lift millions of Ethiopians out of poverty. For instance, we invested heavily in the country's road network, which helped to connect rural areas with urban centers and facilitated the movement of goods and services across the country. In addition to economic development, my government was also committed to promoting democracy and human rights. We introduced a new constitution that guaranteed various freedoms and rights, including freedom of speech and assembly. We also established a system of federalism that recognized the country's diverse ethnic groups and ensured that they had a voice in the governance of their regions. However, my tenure as Prime Minister was not without controversy. I faced criticism from some quarters for suppressing opposition parties and limiting press freedom. Nonetheless, I always believed that democracy and development were inseparable, and I worked tirelessly to achieve both. In the international arena, I was a strong advocate for African unity and regional integration. I played a key role in the formation of the African Union and worked to strengthen ties between Ethiopia and other African countries. I also worked to promote peace and stability in the region, including through Ethiopia's involvement in peacekeeping missions in Somalia and Sudan. During my time in office, Ethiopia made significant progress in various sectors, including healthcare, education, and agriculture. We worked to expand access to basic services such as healthcare and education, and we invested heavily in agricultural development, which helped to improve food security and reduce poverty in rural areas. One of the most notable achievements of my government was the construction of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, a massive hydroelectric dam on the Blue Nile River. The dam is one of the largest infrastructure projects in Africa and will provide much-needed electricity to Ethiopia. However, my tenure as Prime Minister was not without challenges. Ethiopia faced numerous security threats, including separatist movements, terrorism, and ethnic conflict. We were also affected by the global financial crisis, which led to a decline in foreign aid and investment. Nonetheless, my government worked hard to address these challenges and ensure that Ethiopia continued to make progress towards its development goals. Sadly, I passed away in 2012 due to a sudden illness, but my legacy lives on. Ethiopia continues to make progress in various sectors, and I am proud to have played a part in that. However, I recognize that there is still much work to be done to ensure that Ethiopia becomes a truly democratic and prosperous country that benefits all its citizens.
I hope that my story will inspire others to work towards a better future for their communities and countries. I urge all Ethiopians to remain committed to the ideals of democracy, development, and unity that I worked so hard to promote. Together, we can build a better Ethiopia, one that is prosperous, peaceful, and truly democratic. Thank you for listening.